Look at.
Good morning. Diane here. Today is Wednesday, July 1st, 2026, and I'll be reading the Martha Vineyard Times. And let's start with a front page story on fishing and freedom. A Brazilian father talks about the ICE arrest of himself and his son and thanks the island for support. The father and his son had always been knotted together through a shared love of fishing, a narrative through line from their homestead in Brazil and throughout their journey as immigrants to America. When his son was just a little boy, the father provided him with a bamboo pole to go for tilapia in the pond. Near their hometown of Colatina, Espírito Santo in Brazil. Later, they fished with bobbers along the banks of the Charles River in Boston, where they applied for asylum and they stepped up their fishing gear to go surf casting for striped bass off Chappaquiddick's Wasp Point on Martha's Vineyard, where they embedded in the island's vibrant Brazilian community. But the one thing they had not had a chance to do was to fish from a boat. From the shore, they looked at fellow anglers and boats and always wanted to fish like them. So on May 18, they were up early, full of excitement for their first fishing experience out on the water, through the invitation of a friend. Stripers were in, and the excitement of a new fishing season was in the air. Father and son left home around 5 a.m. to help their friend launch his skiff in Menasha with the promise of some fishing time together after getting the boat in the water. We had wanted to fish on a boat on the sea for a long time, so we took the time to do it this summer, to enjoy it a bit, since I had worked a lot lately, said Rogério da Silva Lima, 42, the father of Nicholas de Alvarenga Lima, now a 5'11" teenager who was 15 years old and just about to celebrate his 16th birthday. Their fishing dreams turned into something closer to an immigrant's nightmare when the U.S. Coast Guard pulled up alongside the craft and began asking questions and looking for IDs. The Coast Guard would circle back, stopping them 2 more times. The first stop occurred less than a half an hour after they had pushed off the dock in Menasha. They had barely gotten their lines in the water and haven't even caught any fish, and as it turned out, they wouldn't. The last of the Coast Guard stops resulted in officials boarding their vessel, and the father and son were transferred to the Coast Guard boat, motored to Woods Hole, and handed over to U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement ICE agents who shackled their hands and feet. It was a traumatic experience, De Silva Lima said. Their arrest sparked action among Vineyard activists who were fast to organize legal support. That same evening, they contacted an attorney who was able to file an emergency habeas corpus petition that night so father and son wouldn't be sent to Dilley Immigration Processing Center in Texas, where immigrant families have denounced mistreatment, and including that of children. Habeas corpus is a legal procedure with roots that go back to the 13th century's Magna Carta, and it is enshrined in the Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution, allowing people who have been detained by the government to challenge their detention in court, according to the Brennan Center for Justice at New York University. Habeas corpus is Latin for, quote, that you have the body, close quote. It requires a court to evaluate anyone detained, and if found to have been detained without sufficient cause, it allows them to challenge their detention. This right now lies at the center of the legal strategy used by immigration attorneys and advocates for immigrants in an effort to stop the Trump administration from carrying out unlawful detention, and as a way to prevent the illegal deportation of their clients. The Coast Guard, in a statement at the time of the arrest, said they received a report of a vessel possibly in distress south of Martha's Vineyard on the morning of May 18, and explained that was why they first approached the fishing boat. The Coast Guard said it boarded the vessel around 10 a.m. and identified individuals who reportedly required, quote, additional immigration status verification, close quote. After checking with ICE, the Coast Guard determined that one passenger was a Brazilian national and another was a minor traveling with his father. The Coast Guard said they worked with ICE, quote, to ensure the family remained together, close quote, as they transferred them to ICE custody. ICE officials said the agency transported Rogério da Silva Lima and his 15-year-old son Nicholas to Woods Hole before transferring them to ICE custody on the mainland. Court records indicated the government intended to transfer them to Texas from there. The court records revealed that the father, two of his sons, and their mother had all appealed, but lost their case for asylum in 2023 and had stayed in the country without documentation for more than 2 years. So their deportation seemed an inevitability, but immigration advocates from the island banded together to fight for the father and son to be returned to the island and to at least have a chance at a day in court. The island community also came together to stage a protest in Menasha in front of the Coast Guard station, and students led a walkout at the Martha's Vineyard Regional High School, where Nicholas is a student. The island solidarity had an impact. Nicholas was released after 4 days, then De Silva Lima after 9 days. De Silva said he and his family say they are grateful. I don't have words to thank everyone for all the care for my family then and now, De Silva Lima said. People who didn't even know us used their time to protest and try to help. As an immigrant, you can feel rejected sometimes, but then you realize that most people are rooting for you, despite a few who don't. Most people support your goal to give a better life to your children. I thought they would separate us, Nicholas said. I can't thank everyone enough. We were able to get out because of them. It was hard, but I didn't expect it would get so much attention, that the school would protest. It helped to know people are supporting us. People who recognize De Silva Lima and Nicholas on the street have stopped to say hello and celebrate their return to the island. Among Brazilians, De Silva Lima senses apprehension. They are scared because of what happened to me. They feel there's no place ICE can't go. They tell me, how come you can't even go fishing anymore? In Woods Hole, father and son were handed over to ICE agents by the Coast Guard and drove in separate cars to the ICE processing center in Burlington. They were reunited and spent the night in a small cell where they got slim mats to sleep on and small meals. Nicholas was crying, saying, "My dream is over now," the father said. There in Burlington, De Silva Lima made one phone call to his other son, Naren, 17, who lives in Boston. I told him I was going to be deported. In the meantime, the U.S. District Court of Massachusetts judges Indira Talwani and Julia E. Kobik ordered they remain in Massachusetts because minors cannot be held at the processing center. ICE agents brought father and son to a hotel. They stayed for 3 nights, sharing a bed, watching TV, and being constantly monitored by agents taking turns. We couldn't leave or use our phones, De Silva Lima said. Nicholas was released on May 22 and returned to the island. De Silva Lima was transferred to Plymouth County Correctional Facility, where he shared a cell with 4 other immigrants. There were a lot of Brazilians, Jamaicans, Mexicans, and other Latin Americans, he said. That place is huge. There are a lot of people. He spent 5 nights in the facility he called hell. They take your freedom, put you in a cell with 4 people you don't know. The bathroom is an open toilet with no privacy, he said. De Silva Lima was transported to Burlington again on May 27 to be released with an ankle monitor. The Lima family immigrated to the U.S. in 2021, but later the boy's mother left the country. Initially, they lived in Boston, but in the past 2 years, the father has worked as a carpenter and a painter on the Vineyard, first taking the ferry from Cape Cod and then moving to the island with Nicholas. They had applied for asylum in 2023, but the case was rejected, as well as their appeal to the U.S. Board of Immigration Appeals. When De Silva Lima was still in detention, he said, family and friends were not hopeful that he would be released. But after the judge's decision, their mood improved. When the father received a call from Nicholas in Plymouth saying he would soon be released, he couldn't believe it. I said, "Don't play games with me," and then broke down crying. I melted. The day he was released, he had only a note with the number of an MVLUCE Immigration Justice Network member in hand. As he left Burlington, De Silva Lima met a swarm of dozens of people protesting outside the facility. It was Wednesday, the day activists and organizers usually protest against ICE there. Despite not knowing the person he should look for, he asked for the help of a protester to call the MVLUCE member, who picked him up. The Vineyard chapter of LUCE was created after the ICE raid of May 2025 that took 20 people on the island. The group gathered funding and found an attorney who could file a petition that day. Many others in the community also helped. A couple of hours after they were taken, someone called the LUCE hotline. That's how they were able to act so quickly. The MVLUCE member said, on condition of anonymity for safety reasons. The first thing I did was hug my son, De Silva Lima said. With his father returned home, Nicholas celebrated his birthday along with his brother, Niren, and friends. At school, he shared the happiness of his classmates at his reappearance. They thought they would never see me again. Besides fishing, father and son usually go out for lunch, dinner, or just for coffee and talk. De Silva Lima describes Nicholas as calm and respectful, and a teenager who likes swimming and playing soccer. But he feels his son's smile is not the same as before. You can tell his smile feels heavier, he said. Judge Talwani ordered that De Silva Lima be released on an order of supervision. This type of order doesn't give permission to remain in the U.S., but it allows ICE to do the logistical work for removing somebody without detaining them during that process, explains Amelia Lynn Rittenauer, the attorney from Haven Immigration Law, who represented the Limas. In general, these orders include check-ins and a conduct rule. If ICE gathers the travel documents to demonstrate that there is now a so-called, quote, significant likelihood of removal in the reasonably foreseeable future, close quote, or somebody violates the terms of their order, then they can be re-detained. Some might say I'm playing the victim, but I don't think I'm a victim. I came here to fulfill my dream and my family's dream. But unfortunately, all this happened, De Silva Lima said. In moments of difficulty, he turns to the Bible, especially Psalm 23, which he recited by heart during the interview. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. The first thing I did was hug my son. And he said it's challenging to think about the future as his plans changed so much, and that it's unfortunate there are so few avenues for immigrants to stay in the U.S. legally. This is a situation I can't solve the way I want, the way I imagined. I know I have to leave. Headline, MV Diversity Coalition honors legacy of Richie Smith. The Truth and Joy Festival highlighted contributions by BIPOC Island elders. The Martha's Vineyard Diversity Coalition, MVDC, awarded retiring Martha's Vineyard Public Schools, MVYPS, Superintendent Dr. Richard Richie Smith with its inaugural Friend and Leader Award, and premiered its oral history film project at its annual Truth and Joy Festival on Saturday evening. The festival celebrated the island's cultural diversity through storytelling, music, and art. About 100 people gathered at the Performing Arts Center in Oak Bluffs to take in speeches, performances, and videos by community members. The evening opened with the screening of a music video for the MVDC Educational Committee's song, Change. Other acts, such as a dance ensemble by the Rise Dance Company and the performance of a blessing song by the Black Brook Singers, a group comprised of members of the Wampanoag tribe of Gay Head, paid tribute to Smith. The MVDC also premiered Martha's Vineyard Living Legends, the Black, Indigenous, People of Color, Elders Oral History Project, an ongoing film project of high school student interviews with the island's BIPOC elders. Oak Bluffs 8th grade student Latana Lowe was also honored as the winner of this year's Marie B. Allen Creative Arts Contest for her poem titled Freedom Across Time. Many people who joined the celebration highlighted Smith's contribution to the island's schools and the wider community. Jocelyn Coleman Walton, co-chair of the MVDC Education Committee, presented Smith with the award. Richie has been a dedicated ally of our committee for many years. He attended our meetings regularly as assistant superintendent and remained completely accessible and supportive after becoming superintendent, Coleman said. His unwavering support set the stage for meaningful and measurable improvements in creating inclusive environments by endorsing our many activities. Smith Smith, who is retiring as superintendent after 25 years as an educator, expressed his gratitude as the recipient of the award. Receiving the Friend and Leader Award means more to me, knowing who is bestowing the award, Smith said. That such amazing human beings can think so highly of me is incredibly humbling. In attendance was Smith's wife, Melissa, and their two sons, Zach, 22, and Rennie, 19. Zach emphasized to the Times his pride in his father. I see every day how hard he's working. He's really put his heart and soul into it, he said. It feels like the island is giving a thank you. Rennie echoed this sentiment. A lot of the things he does goes unsung, so it's just so nice to see all this appreciation towards him and all these people gathered for him. MVDC board member Sandra Pimentel emphasized the strength of unity. Tonight is a night of truth and joy, Pimentel said. It is a time for us to be together and to feel the power of our community while honoring our BIPOC friends who add so much to the fabric of our community, and to recognize Richie Smith, who has proven that one person can make a difference. MVDC board member Bob Tankard wished Smith well on his retirement. I know with your heart and your mind, you will help us fill that void. We wish you the best, you and your family, Tankard said. I just told your two sons that their responsibility for the next 4 years is to take care of you. Former NVYPS Assistant Superintendent Marge Harris joked about Smith's commitment to civic participation. The community owned him. He never wavered from showing up at each and every meeting, especially if it involved students, Harris said. Thank goodness for his wife, Missy, for she never saw the man. Martha's Vineyard Regional High School Physical Education Department Chair, Cheryl Taylor, evoked a quote by Shirley Chisholm, the first black congresswoman. There's a quote attributed to Shirley Chisholm that says, "If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair," Taylor said. What I have appreciated most about Richie is that he's never made people bring their own chair. He intentionally makes room at the table. Brad Lopes, educational director for the Wampanoag tribe of Gayhead, recalled how Smith impacted him personally at a meeting. Richie made a point to come talk to me and pat me on the back as he expressed joy over seeing me there, Lopes said. That kindness dissipated any sense of anxiety I held in the same way the fog does as it rolls over the ocean and toward the cliffs. Julie Fay, former executive director of Martha's Vineyard Community Services, expressed her fondness for the frequent meals she shared with Smith. Over the years, we ate a lot of those chicken shamara sandwiches, Fay said. I thoroughly enjoyed the intelligence, the wit, and the honesty of the conversations that went along with them. Tony Kaufman, former president of the Martha's Vineyard branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, used an excerpt from country musician Eric Church's commencement speech at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, to underscore Smith's individuality. The world does not need another cover song. It needs an original, Kaufman said. It has been a pleasure and an honor to work with you. I am humbled by the faith that you've had in me to serve our island youth. I will miss you, Richie. You are an original. Oak Bluff's chief of police, Jonathan Sear, spoke on behalf of the island police chiefs and the Dukes County Sheriff's Office. Our missions have always been closely aligned. Every day we work towards the same goal, which is creating a safe, supporting environment where all of our young people can learn, can grow, and thrive, Sear said. Throughout your tenure, you've been a valued partner in that effort, demonstrating a steadfast commitment to the well-being and the success of our island students. Headline: A new SSA terminal opens in Woods Hole. The construction of the building began 2 years ago. As the island enters the heart of summer and visitors sail in from the mainland, passengers will be welcomed at the Steamship Authority's newly completed terminal. The new Woods Hole terminal building was opened to the public for the first time on Thursday, June 25, closing nearly 2 years of construction for the multi-phase renovation of the ferry line's property. The opening of this terminal marks a tremendous milestone in the decade-long project to totally reimagine and rebuild the Woods Hole terminal. Alex Krzaska, SSA General Manager, said in a statement. Discussions of a new terminal began over 10 years ago as the ferry line pursued a building to upgrade its facilities and counter rising sea levels. But it hadn't been the smoothest process, with pushback from Woods Hole neighbors over the size and the location of the building and concerns over traffic congestion. Several revisions had to be made to the design until this version was reached. Since the old terminal was demolished in 2018, previously located where the third slip is located, the ticket office served as the Woods Hole terminal until the new building was opened. The ticket office was closed on Thursday. The new terminal, which cost $37 million to build, is noticeably larger than the current ticket office, which is around 3,600 square feet. The new terminal, designed by Boston-based BIA Studio, is 5,418 square feet, and the accompanying utility building for employees is 5,981 square feet. Woods Hole is the SSA's busiest port. The ferry line said they had 2.4 million passengers and 550,000 vehicles pass through it in 2025. And that's the news for today, Wednesday, July 1st, 2026. And this is Diane signing off until next week. Have a happy holiday.